and Bodhisattvas. Okay. Umnosinum that umnosinum that genupe, Taji Jinajabayi, Sangi Chodanginu Papeso, Una Chazeta, Taji show the major positive. Chebegin Begatapatamba, Kunogumbo Jajabaja, Numbodra Bazara Pedane, Simpiatum Pialagun to Pepe, Ism the Patsir double day, Tensum the Beta Ship Pepe, the worship by Yala Chazalo, Jambejano Pate. Chirizimungu Jambebe, saying you put a button, and getting you Bopa Jokunduzang, Peter Shipeka Lushida, no put a water in your Mai, Chazal and Umbraship. Changes by Gala Chazalo, the Jetta Chisargina, the Jobuzayon, Kamala, Yada Tapuza Pepe, Minukis, when you call the Regita Jaga to do your watching Jima, Songo, Toshila Mugela Chazalo, Sambachi Potajin Semepo, Mito de Nanjabo Yokoso, Pachapatano, Mimisa, Namtesela Zakota, Tishala, Toshise, Water Tichete. So some Nazokele Tishipe, Chidin Kiwangela Chazalo, Tajet in the Chawatsumbala, Getan Yawarsewa, Kunjini, to do Pepe, some to Asian to Trashi Daily Pusum Soparashu. Tabke tuji shagi risutu shingi mitu tuki punjo pa sirke lumbu te prujipe ku shagi gebe shabla chaselo. Chumnen de paro gumbo jisun jambe yana cha salo kongi lutu timi tini ngi tam tar sebe chingi tungu jisun si jingi kutu. Kota sebe zara mare mundu dungu ki sebe tuzo kuna puji ta ze yana tuji yana song tutar shiro nyu mo nyana laga churu zi jang mare musi dungu rinyu chingi chosera. Tenisa Jesa Jitartin, Tenisa Gazette, Churachu, Chungin, Talo Musicam, Priyanati, Umarapsanati, Marapsanati, Marapsanati, Marapsanati. Marapsanati, Marapanati, 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 Marapanati. Marapanati, 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 Marapanati. Kurumda dije jengi pa ubetana sharab retinam lepoze meje meje ko kumbo jambe yana chasa tu konzeta burdu bam chukze tu burdu gumbo jamie ti ki keme parya to warsho konzeta burdu bam chukze tu burdu na ya gumbo jamie ti ki keme parya to warsho konzeta burdu bam chukze tu gumbo jamie ti ki keme parya to warsho paden sebe lamar boche tagje wor peme de jula kani chimbe gune Kusung tuki ngudu psal du su. So I hope you all are health-wise doing well uh, in this Kali Yoga um, time when there is degeneration of health and environmental and fire danger and flooding danger and all these crazy things going on. I hope you all are keeping well and healthy. uh, and I hold in my prayer every day for all for the world, and then particularly uh, my lamas and my students and Vajra Dharma brother and sister, all to be healthy and well is my daily practice and prayer. So I hope you all are doing well. So today I want to explain, before we do the meditation session, on Bodhichitta. I want to explain on Bodhichitta today. Why Bodhichitta mind is so important. Without Bodhichitta mind, then we cannot be a better human being. to begin with, let's start by beginning that a better human being. And let's not even talk about being a better practitioner. If we cannot be a better human being, that we are all humans, then what chance is there for us to achieve enlightenment? It will be impossible if we can't be a better human being. And then, needless to say, what that comprises better human being, Buddha sums it up in his teaching. Whatever harms being, directly and indirectly, not to engage in that is the first principle of ethics, which includes the entire Hinayana path, or Hinayana path here means uh, those who seek self-liberation. And obviously you can see the reason to be a better human being, you're seeking of not to the level of self-liberation, but self-happiness, happiness for oneself, and that you don't, in order to gain happiness for yourself, it is logical that you can't gain happiness to yourself by being harming others or endangering others. You can only become a better human being by abstaining from all harmful actions to others is the only way how to become a better human being. Then once you become a better human being by abstaining all the things that which harms directly and indirectly, by abstaining that, then the possibility of the next door is like, you open one door and then you go to the next chamber, and the next chamber is, then you see more reality of phenomena. Because what prevents us from liberation is not seeing the reality, absolute reality of phenomena. In order to, in order to, um, in order to see the absolute reality of phenomena, first you have to create the perfect, conducive environment or conducive stage, which is the ethical practice. So when we talk about better human being, we are talking basically ethical practice through body, speech, and mind, which is relative uh, part of relative bodhicitta. Now, I may not necessarily call this a relative bodhicitta. I may call it the more like the compassionate, uh, abstaining, abstaining negative uh, action doesn't necessarily mean that you are on the larger picture of benefiting being. Yes, indirectly it may benefit being, but your main aim is how to be a better human being so you can achieve your uh, happiness uh, by not harming others, which is a great thing. But still, it doesn't take you to the next level of seeing the absolute reality of the um, absolute reality of uh, subjective absolute reality and objective absolute reality. That is a whole different thing, you know. Uh, so therefore, according to Arya Deva, I believe it was Arya Deva, who is the main student of Nagarjuna, he said, first you abandon uh, uh, negativities. Uh, in that, he's talking about anything which basically produces harms directly, indirectly. And then in the middle, you abandon uh, self, the notion of me, identity of self. At the end, you let go or you abandon all views, means from all extreme. So it goes like a different level of chambers. First level of chambers, second chamber, third chamber. So in other words, we are seeing like the human being realm. Then we are seeing the arahat, self-liberated arahat, what is known as destroy your enemy. And destroy enemy, arahat means destroyer. And what is destroying? Destroying the ego, which is the very root of samsara. That's called arahat. So first is a human dharma. Human dharma is ethical practice. Next is the arahat level, by seeing the reality of phenomena. They may not see the reality of totality of phenomena, but they see like no self. By that, they are able to find liberation of samsara. Then, thirdly, then you see that both subjective and objective absolute reality of phenomena, emptiness, and then one find total liberation. And for that, the support of the practice will be the six paramita and four immeasurable. So therefore, why it is important for us to achieve our aims and goal of life is to achieve happiness. That's the main objective here, is achieving happiness and liberation. In order to achieve happiness and liberation, way to go is those stages by stages by stages. That's the only way. Otherwise, it's not possible to achieve happiness and achieve liberation. So therefore, in order to do that, in order to achieve happiness and liberation, then the entire teaching Buddha gave step by step, generally we call 84,000 teaching, in order to deal with 84,000 passions and afflictions. Uh, uh, but when you sums it up, the entire Hinayana teaching sums it up by not harming others. The entire Mahayana teaching sums it up by benefiting others. As I mentioned many times, when you benefit others, not harming is included in that part. Then the Vajrayana teaching, or the Mahamudra and Dzogchen teaching, is basically finally showing the deadness of the ultimate reality of nature of phenomena. Only then can we find, by reality of absolute state, then what is known as liberation of freedom is only possible then. It cannot be possible living in a state of ignorant mind. So what really ignorant means is not knowing the absolute reality is what ignorance means. As long as one mind is trapped up in the ignorant mind of not knowing, there is no liberation, there is no freedom. So therefore, now when you look stage by stage, what is the biggest obstacle and the biggest downfall being in samsara and not achieving liberation is ignorant. No question of that. And then when we talk about ignorance, there generally the definition of ignorance in two kinds. One is the ignorance of not knowing cause and effect, which basically all of us living in that state right now. And the cause and effect falls in the realm of duality. Cause and effect, the realm of duality. So not knowing the cause and effect is what we face challenge every day in our life. You know, every person, from the wrong decision making by a leader of a country to every aspect of uh, uh, people from the top to the bottom making the wrong kind of decision is not knowing, being fall into the trap of ignorant, of not knowing the genuine or proper cause and effect. It's what, you do something and you end up with the wrong thing. You end up with chaos, you end up with danger, you end up with all kinds of problems. It's not knowing cause and effect. So now how do we deal with that? How do we know, right, what's the right kind of cause and effect? Then, the entire Hinayana, let me not go through the 10 virtues deed and the rest of, for instance, like the novice vows and the full monastic vow or layman vows, or all the thing. These are all like clearly mentioned step by step. But let's sums it up. Anything which harms others, that's we should try to learn how to stop that. In that way, that's the beginning how we learn, uh, how we learn uh, um, removing the ignorant of cause and effect. So this is where very much right now everybody's living in that world of cause and effect. So if you live in the world of cause and effect, which we do, then we have to learn what is the right cause and effect. And to sums it up, at least let's practice, not harming others. And and of course, if you can benefit others, then that is great. If not, at least learn not to harm others. And so those are very, very important, I think. And then the next stage for Dharma practitioner, which we all are, I'm trying to differentiate the ethical values of these worldly beings and the ethical value of the Dharma people, Dharma students. The Dharma students mean that now you have not only seen the cause and effect, what is the proper cause and effect and what is the wrong cause and effect, which leads to suffering, all kinds, but then furthermore seeing reality of phenomena. Reality phenomena is non-dual. The reality phenomena is emptiness, meaning how we find liberation, freedom from this cycle of cause and effect. Then how do we know? Can we really find? The question will come: can we really find a liberation from cycle of cause and effect? How is possible? Then we need to investigate. First, you hear the Dharma, the knowledge you gain through hearing. Then second is knowledge through introspection. Third is knowledge through meditation. So you have to go step by step. So so once we heard, okay, cause the phenomenal world is truly the world of cause and effect. And we all know that, regardless of what people's belief, you know, theistic or non-theistic or shamanism, or whatever ism, doesn't matter. Everybody knows if you want to have a, let's say, most popular food in America is a hamburger. You can't pray for a hamburger. It will just pop up just by praying or just by wishing. You need to act on it, bring the flour and make the bread with water and all those ingredients, and you need the meat and you need to fry the meat and you need to put all the ingredients. Then finally you have a hamburger. So truly it is, that's the reality of cause and effect. It's not simply by praying to an almighty one suddenly the hamburger shows up, or without any cause, as a hamburger will show up, or just by a powerful God or Bhagavan or Almighty or Allah will just pop up. It doesn't happen that way. It only happens due to cause and effect. So therefore, you know, you can write off the ignorance, saying it is by Almighty One. It is not true. It didn't happen that way. You know, whether Almighty God or with different names. For the Almighty, everyone has been talking Almighty from billions of years. This is not just today. There may be many different names for that. Shamans were the earliest religion, or made by the tree god, or made by the water god, or made by the sun, made by the moon, made by fire, the god of fire, the god of this, and god of all kinds of names we have in the phenomenal world. But clearly, we know that if you really want to eat a hamburger, you need to get the flour. You need to put the seed of a flour. Then you have to cultivate that. You need to um, you know, uh, step by step, when the right season, after a few months, then the wheat will grow and then you can take it out. You need to peel off the skin. You have to put it through, ancient times, they don't have machine. Today we have machine. Then you have to grind the wheat. And after all this process, so many process simply get the wheat, and then the meat product, then the spices product, then the fire, then the you need a pan to, after so many interdependent phenomena, then finally you have the so-called hamburger. That's how hamburger was made. It just didn't happen just like that, with without a cause, or just by someone giving. It didn't happen. So it removes the ignorant how things happen. So same thing, when you harm someone, you know what how that uh, directly it harms the other, and finally it harms yourself. Whether it's aggression, or whether it's jealousy, whether it's envy, or whether it's hatred, or whether it's discrimination, all those things harm others and harm oneself. One level of karma. Then deeper level of karma, you're always stuck with the notion of self. That is the real ignorant. Tibetan word is called Timuk Denzin. Timuk means ignorance. Denzin means, you know, it's real. Like, we hold to a phenomena as something real. And then Nagarjuna explained that in many of his example. For example, when we call chariots, in ancient time, the word is used chariot. Today we can use the example of a car. When we say a chariot, for example, we think there's a whole one unit, independent unit chariot. But actually, there's no one independent unit of chariot. It's a component of many factors. Put the wheel factor, just alone the wheel, how many things has to come together just to make, different angles of the wheel and the round of the wheel, and so many factors. So when you put all those factors together, then you call it chariot. But there's no fundamental or independent chariot just by itself. There's never been like that. So same thing, you know, uh, uh, our notion of everything in life, whether it's emotion, whether it's appearance, whether it's sound, whether it's smell, whether it's taste, we think there is something independent. That is the problem. The notion of something independently it exists has led us to this problem. It's the biggest tragic view how we have seen the world, thinking everything is so independent, and therefore it's so hard to let go, so hard to forgive, so hard to move forward, because we hold on to something that we don't know how to let go. And finally, as we say, time heals. It's the same thing. But how the time can heal, because there's no inherent quality in that. There's no independent quality. So when different factors come in different ways, how you see it in different perspective, then when you see the different perspective, you are able to let go, and it's the same thing, but you seeing in a different angle. You just forgive. You just able to let go of that. So therefore, the phenomena, uh, the phenomena has no absolute reality, uh, but we somehow hold it very, uh, very strongly in this identity. This is really, really, you need to look carefully into this. I would really like you to see the example of your house. You feel like there's one unitary house, independent house, and you sell as the independent owner. So there's everything, there is something, we see the phenomena as, you know, um, something very real. And that's what creates the affliction and ignorance. We're not saying there's no house. We're not saying there's no you. We're not saying there's no he or she. We're just saying the way we perceive things, there's a problem in how we perceive things. That is the issue. Because we perceive things something wrong, therefore afflictions have arises. Therefore, ignorance has taken a major role. As long as we remain in that ignorance and in that perception, our ignorance will not cease, and how we see the world will be always a problematic. We don't see the world as it is, but we we m- it's like we make things up. We say some people, oh, you're just making the whole thing up. It's exactly like that. We're making things up, and that's how we get habituated in their perception. And then the habits maintain that perception, and the ignorance holds to the deep sense of clinging to that identity. And then everything get confused. Day-to-day living, we get confused. Our life situation get into confusion. Uh, how we hear things, how we say things, how we relate to things. Always some kind of affliction is there. No trust. How come, when people, when we walk, sometimes I'm really surprised when we walk on the street. Everyone is so fearful of, how can we not just be so open and just be loving and caring, but everyone is cautious when somebody see you. Try not to look at someone. If you try to look at someone, people feel, you know, oh, what's he looking for? What's she looking for? This is how all this lack of compassion, lack of openness, lack of love, arising from this ignorance of seeing, we build up the perception of something very real, where there is no such thing at all. In fact, there's no such thing in reality at all, because when you look, the nature is emptiness. Now, how do we know the nature of phenomena is emptiness? Then, as I said, Nagarjuna explained that the chariot is a buildup of many component. There's no such thing as chariot as an independent. When you dismantle the wheels and the body and the windows and the doors of the chariot, there is no such thing as chariot. Finally, it is put together. Simply we label. So I think it's important for us to really have a clear sense of perception of reality. And today, quantum physics, I think they objectively they have understood that there isn't anything as real as the entity independently exists. Of course, the subjective part is, they have a long way to go, science, but objective part, they figure it out in the quantum physics, that there isn't as we think it is. It's not really there. That's what it meant finally. So our perceptions got wrong. There's something fault in our perception. Because there is something fault in our perception, therefore afflictions comes out of that. Affliction is a result of ignorance. How we perceive things, how we believe things, how we hold on to things. So this is a very serious matter that we really have to introspect about nature of phenomena, nature of reality. As long as you don't figure it out, the nature of phenomena and reality, you will always remain in ignorance. That means you will always remain in affliction. And that means you will always remain in suffering. That means you're always bonded, slave of that habit and bonded of that situation. So therefore, uh, you see, and this has been going on for immemorial time. It's not just like, one lifetime, but it's been going for so many lifetimes. So our perception and grasping to that uh, identity to the self, it's, you know, it's quite a test. Um, and we need methods. We need methods how to remove that. Now, if there is no method, then there's no point of talking about it. It just create like heartache. It just create like heaviness in our heart. Okay, so now I'm helpless. So what do I do? If I go to, how do I do? That's where then the Dharma method, the method of, like if you look at the Shantideva's teaching on 10 chapters, each chapter dealing with like particular emotions, you know, how to alleviate, free of ourselves from poverty, and then from our neurotic aspect, how to generate the ethical levels, and then the patience, and then the diligence. All of them have a method how to counter. If there is ignorance, the countermeasure is even much more powerful than the state of the ignorant itself. So it's just a question whether we study the Dharma or not, or whether we introspect the Dharma or not. Because if you really study and introspect and then bring that into practice or meditation, you can really solve this thing. It's not a difficult thing at all. Confusion confusion is overwhelming. you know it's only overwhelming as long as you don't look into it. But moment you look into it, it has no basis at all. It's like a sand castle which can fall apart. So it's just like, that's why we need the knowledge. Only we can come out of this stage of uh, timuk denzin, or the grasping to this, the grasper mind, holding this perception, is by seeing the nature of perception. Just like how you see the nature of a chariot is just simply label, it's not something more than that. Same thing, by all this phenomena that we are into it right now, this particularly the human world. You need to see each and every aspect of human world. Your table reality, your suitcase reality, your chair reality, your body reality, five skandha reality. That's what we read the Heart Sutra for. The reality. Always, the one thing in Buddhism is always finding reality. Then in finding reality, there's only two aspects of reality. One is a relative reality, and one is absolute reality. That's and how you deal with the relative reality, how you deal with the absolute real. That is how you remove all ignorance. Once you remove all ignorance, then you remove the afflictions of that. You remove the perception of that wrong view, and by that, then you remove the samsara itself. That's how you find liberation. So you can go step by step, logically, how it will remove uh, uh, all obstacle and all confusion on the path. So I thought, you know, uh, uh, we need to focus on that. Then at the same time, now talking about altruism. Altruism is really one of the most powerful, what is known as bodhicitta in the Sanskrit word. Tibetan word is chanchup kisem. I think English word, I don't know. Altruism is what's the Latin meaning of that? I don't know. But this is the only translation that I know, altruism. Because moment when we talk bodhicitta or chanchukism, it comprises both relative compassion and absolute compassion. Now, what altruism real meaning, I don't know. It sounds like compassionate mind, but does that include the absolute reality and relative reality? Reality is part of the bodhicitta. Just simply compassion is not enough. Compassion without wisdom can never let you out of samsara. You see, compassion with wisdom is important. Compassion without wisdom is like a one wing of a bird. The bird cannot fly. It can flap and move a little bit, but it cannot fly in the sky and go, like infinity in the sky. You need the wisdom and the compassion both. That's what Bodhichitta and uh, Changchupki Sem in Tibetan. Compassion word in just simply compassion word in Tibetan is called Nyingje. It's not called Changchup Sem. Nyingje. Nying means like heart, J, like a it's like a best to the best heart, like a supreme heart, the highest level of heart in the relative world that you care and concern of others. But when you see the wisdom and compassion in union, then you see depth not on the temporal situation, but absolute situation for yourself and all being. So the meaning is very different, bodhicitta and compassion. So the point is, you know, why the bodhicitta mind is so precious. Needless to say, those who have studied Shantideva's Bodhichara Avatara teaching, you all know that. But then let me just explain why that mind is so precious and why that mind that we should always hold the heart of the heart or the most precious of our mind is the bodhicitta mind, not our, of course, affliction, or any other mind, but the mind of compassion and wisdom is the heart of the essence, you can say. Now, supposing, um, people there are people who are can have all the wealth, billionaires and millionaires, whatever, but still, you don't know that wealth in some way is good to have the wealth, but you who knows that wealth can be your biggest enemy. Someone might kill you for that wealth. Or, there's no guarantee that wealth can make people happy. And besides, we know mind and object is two different nature. Mental happiness cannot just simply be achieved by physical wealth. Wealth can only do so much, but then finally, mine is one, uh, which is a completely a different um, level. Uh, because there are people who are very rich and still not happy, and people go to the suicidal level too. So therefore, one is the family of mind and the family of objective is two different family. Of course, there is interdependent, but the mind is one which is uh, you know even having a wealth. There's no guarantee that you can be happy, and that we have seen and that we know that. So having a wealth, there's no guarantee you can be happy. And what about having a fame and praise? Having a fame also, we have seen those have fame, then it can change. And when that fame changes, supposing there's criticism, then it drops down again. There's also no guarantee that you will be happy having a fame either. No guarantee of having a wealth make you happy. No guarantee having a fame will make you happy. And definitely, we also see no guarantee having powers. We've seen powerful people topple down. Their power have destroyed them. Power have taken their life. We have seen in history, uh, whether it's kings or presidents or prime minister, things have happened like that, and it's still happening to this day. So all those things, there's no guarantee. But when you have bodhicitta, there's always happiness. You never lose anything. And not therefore is called the most king of the mind, the most precious mind, because is the friend of all being. Let's not, we can say as a human being, we relate to human being all the time. That having bodhicitta, we have more friends. Having bodhicitta, we're not looking for like self gratification, but naturally you have more friends and you are more love. The whoever has heart of love and compassion generally, including creatures, they are much safer being in an environment where there's a compassionate person, where there's bugs, or where there's, birds, where there's dog. They also live happily, surrounded by people of love and care and compassion. So therefore, bodhicitta mind is the source of all our happiness. And that's why we really need to learn to do Tonglen practice, because we too have still a lot of self, a lot of ego in our mind. And this is something you really need to work yourself. No one can do it for you. No one can do meditation on your behalf. No one can eat on your behalf. Same thing, no one can, remove your obscurations and afflictions. Only you can do that. By understanding the importance that only me, I can remove my ignorant. I can remove my affliction. I can change. Therefore, keeping that in mind, then you know why the bodhicitta is the most precious jewel that you have in your life. There is no other friend that you have than bodhicitta mind. Your friend, you try to make friends with your wealth. There's no guarantee whether that will give you happiness or that will take your life. Having fame, there's no guarantee. Having power, you know, there's no guarantee. In fact, they all falls down. That's why, out of the three kinds of suffering, the suffering of suffering and the change of suffering and conditional suffering. According to the conditional suffering, which is the basic identification of samsaric nature, all those will at the end become cause of suffering. And we have seen, people go in power, high power, finally they goes down. And having wealth, then it also goes down. Having fame, it changes. Having power, it changes. So many levels, all of them finally leads to suffering. you know so therefore, the only thing you can really find happiness and trust in yourself is bodhicitta mind. Therefore, please focus on bodhicitta mind. Understand what bodhicitta mind really means. You know, though when you read Shanti Deva's thing, you think, wow, in 8th century, I believe it was 8th century something, I don't remember exactly the century when Shanti Deva came. Wow, what a great teaching he wrote. But when you read that, it resonates directly with your heart. It opens your heart because that's your basic goodness is relating your essence of your basic goodness. And Shanti Deva's Bodhicitta mind is just connecting. They're like connecting to each other. You get inspired, you get open up, you can see how true that is, how affliction and ego have brought you down, and the true source of happiness is bodhicitta. So when you study that, and then when you furthermore introspect, and then when you meditate, you can truly find joy, happiness and freedom wherever you are. That's why bodhicitta mind is so important. That's why the wisdom of meditation is so important. That finally you can remove all your obscuration, all your affliction, all those habits of wrong perception can be removed, and then truly see the nature of thatness or emptiness. Or even when we talk emptiness, when sometimes the word emptiness leads to like nothingness, but that's not what it really meant. When you read, just read the Bodhichara Avatara teaching. If you have really become expert in that book, Bodhichara Avatara teaching, you basically have studied for the last 200 million lifetimes or 200 million years. What you have not known is you will know. In just simply is example of just what you've been missing in the last 200 million years. Let me just say that as an example. You have finally discovered that who you are. So therefore, please read that Bodhichara Avatara teaching, and then words of my perfect teacher. Very important to read that once a year. Once a year, read Bodhichara Avatara teaching. Once a year, read the words of my perfect teacher. And then the rest, there are some other books you can read. And then mainly every day, don't lose your, principle of bodhicitta commitments that you took on the path. I think sometime in the future, it'll be good to get a bodhicitta vow, because we need to reaffirm our bodhicitta mind. And one of the way to do is like early morning Tonglen practice. I think is very powerful method how to do that. It will make you a happy person. It can make you a genuine, compassionate, kind person for yourself and all others. So therefore, Tonglen practice is very important, and then meditation really very important. If you have neither the Tonglen practice, neither the Bodhicitta man, you basically doomed. The reason is you live with your ego mind, that wrong perception. How I was explaining about chariot. We have a notion of something very unitary, independent, which never existed. That's how we see all our affliction as unitary, something very real. Our enemies is unitary, something very real. Everything's so real, which is not real at all to begin with. That doesn't mean that now you become a wobbly person. No, you know what it is. You are cutting that affliction. For example, in the Bodhicitta teaching, it explained, you need to separate the actions of the negative person and the person itself. As far as the person is concerned, he or she is object of compassion. The person may be, doing something wrong, but how do you include everyone into your uh, practice? Or how you work with someone who is so negative? If that person in and out is like something so bad cannot change, then there is no way of working with that person, because even that person, he or she, is under the influence of ignorance and under the influence of their bad habits. Therefore they have no control. Therefore they are object of compassion, and you can work with that and they can change. So therefore you need to separate the action, the person, and the action. The actions, uh, you don't accept their action of negativity, but the person is an object of compassion, because she is still looking for happiness. They're also just like us looking for happiness, but their actions are what is causing them suffering. So therefore you need to, you know find methods how to. If you can help directly, help. If you cannot help directly, keep a distance. So that depends on you how you deal with that in your environment. You see, but your compassion should not be lost to anybody. It should be always be there, because every being who are with afflictions are going through the ignorance. So they're naturally all object of compassion. So this is what I like to talk about bodhicitta mind today a little bit. And thank you for listening. And please read more on Bodhisattva teaching, and focus on Tonglen practice. Do more on Tonglen practice. Maybe one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening. Really, really, please do that. And then do some everyday sitting on shamatha meditation, according to one's meditation teaching that you are doing, whether it's Mahamudra or Dzogchen or whatever. Do your meditation practice, then that's good. Then you will gradually develop on the spiritual path. Obscuration will melt away, the wisdom will shine. If not, we don't pay any attention to bodhicitta and just remain in this ordinary mind stream. It will create more pollution like that, because the identity of the self is so strong that everything we think, everything we smell, everything we taste, everything we hear will be all like reaffirming that view. And then afflictions and aggression, and they are the byproduct of it. And then how can you be happy? You will not be happy. Let's not even talk liberation. Even temporal happiness will not be there. So this is what I like to share tonight. And then let's do a meditation now. Okay. Sit straight. Now in meditation, you don't engage in positive thoughts and negative thoughts, as you all know. Just simply watch your breath and keep your mind with the breath. All thoughts, good or bad, you know, neither hope for the good of or fear for the bad. Treat both of them just like a waves. Like ocean doesn't say a big wave is bad or small wave is good. Treat all of them equally and they all come and they all dissolve. That's how you need to meditate. And then not falling asleep. If you do fall asleep, wake yourself up, because if you do sleep, then your meditation would be worthless. Then if you like get too excited, you cannot control your mind, then you need to learn. Sometimes, you can just, like during your day to day practice, you can just stand up and take a fresh air, or like, how you gaze your mind. For example, if you look straight, your minds get much more open. If you look open, means you're much more aware of the whole environment. If you slightly look down, from the tip of your nose, that's how the Buddha meditate. If you see Buddha have, of course, different level of meditation, you know, uh, according to Dzogchen teaching, looking up, looking in the straight, looking below, there are different level of meditation. But generally, if you look slightly down from the tip of your nose, it settles your mind, settles your mind. Like instead of like looking up, it just gets so open. Slightly looking down and then let go, you know, and then it settles the mind, and that's good. That's good to that posture is good. I slightly looking, it's almost like touching the tip of your nose, and that's it. Nothing hard penetration, just like that. And then meditate, just simply be with the breath. That's all. Simple, huh? Okay, so let's do that. And if thoughts arises, don't fight with that. You have to do, just simply recognize, and it will dissolve by itself. You're not trying to fight with your mind. Don't try to fight with your mind. Don't try to stir with your mind. Just simply, just be there, watch the mind, and but don't go after the thoughts, or don't try to bring the thought. Just simply be and free and open with your breath. Okay. So, any questions? Meditation is you need to keep continuing, and if you keep continuing every day, there's some point your mind settles down. You will see the glimpse of your awareness, and that's what you need to continue. In fact, there isn't anything to continue except, meditation. There's view, meditation, and action. I would really ask, there's a wonderful book by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche called View, Meditation, and Action. Please read that. That can be helpful. It's a wonderful book, View, Meditation, and Action. The view of what I was earlier talking about. View is getting the view will remove the ignorance. Basically, that's what view is. The view of wisdom. Meditation is continuity of that awareness. Is what meditation is. Action is byproduct of that expression. Is action. View, meditation, action. So you have the view. You have meditation. You have meditation. The expression is action. That's what it is. Right now, our view is ignorance, and then the actions are affliction, and the byproduct is suffering. So that's how it works. So view, meditation, and action. So shamatha meditation, there's vipassana meditation and shamatha meditation. Vi- Before having established well ground shamatha, vipassana will be difficult because it's like if there is too many winds, if there's a candle, the candle will be put off by the wind. So, how do you do? You're living in like a storm, your own affliction, others' affliction. In the world today, so much chaos. So, how do you find peace within you? It's the skillful mean. So, if there's a candle, then you put a glass on top of it, then even no matter how much wind is there, it will always be bright and clear. The stillness of the light is so important for everything to shine through. Same thing, meditation, it may be difficult at beginning, but you keep doing it every day, like few sessions or every day one long session according to your time. Then at some point your mind will become more calm, more relaxed. No matter how things are happening, like storms or wind, you will able to handle that. Even you get angry, but the anger gets shorter, shorter anger, not like someone who hold a grudge for so long, you know, they they comes and they goes, they comes and they goes. All other affliction, jealousy, hatred, whatever, they comes and goes. It cannot last long. That's how you're able to purify, and that's how you're able to deal with your uh, afflictions. So therefore, uh, continuation of the awareness is very important. So that is the view. Meditation is continuity of that, and action is the expression of that. So now there is no other secret to meditation than the secret of doing meditation. That is the secret. How do you gain confidence in meditation? Is by practicing meditation. If you just do it like once a week, or just like once in a while, it won't happen. You need like continuity, like you need to like eat 2 times a day or 3 times a day, a continuation of your health. Same thing, your mind needs that continuity. And then, you know depends how you practice, then your development will come through your practice of meditation. So first you need to develop stillness. And once stillness is developed, then the next level is extraordinary insight, the seeing the nature of phenomena, generally what we know as shunyata, or emptiness, and what speak in the Heart Sutra. So that level naturally come by seeing the true nature of phenomena. So that's how meditation has to develop. Then at the same time, in order to further go deeper into our awareness, we need the support of the practice of six paramita: generosity, ethics, patience, diligence, or one-pointed concentration, that all finally helps to get the awareness. It's like all the rivers in the world, finally it goes into the ocean and merge into the ocean. Likewise, all those methods finally converge into the ocean, like to our awareness. So that's how you do practice. So any questions?
Michael and Hannah, do you want to ask your question?
Thank you, Rinpoche. How does one know when they're ready to take the Bodhisattva vows, and how often should one take the Bodhisattva vows?
Well, in order to do that, uh, you know, for example, Tonglen practice is how we develop bodhicitta mind on step by step. Then, like for example, taking the bodhisattva vows, there's two tradition. One is the Nagarjuna tradition, which comes from Manjushri and to the present day teacher, and then from one's teacher, one gets the bodhisattva vow, and there is and then the other tradition by Buddha Maitreya, and it goes towards Asanga, and then there's another lineage of that. Now, in terms of the Bodhisattva vow, the tradition of Manjushri or the Nagarjuna, it says that anyone have a heart of compassion arises, naturally the bodhicitta is there. So it really doesn't depends on the like the ceremony or the ritual of the bodhisattva bodhicitta vow ceremony is naturally arising because your nature is basic goodness, Buddha nature. So naturally it arises there. However, there's a tradition of receiving, as a symbolic gesture. There is a tradition of receiving the vow. One can take it. Now, in the case of Asanga, yes, in essence, should be the same. However, slightly differs. In order to receive bodhicitta, you need to have ceremony, from the abbot to receive that. In the case of Nagarjuna, there is a tradition to receive it, but naturally, even an animal, when a heart of compassion arises, that is bodhicitta arising. So there's slightly different in that. And so one can, one needs to, I think it'll be good to first study the Bodhicharavatara teaching. And then, once you read that and study that and reflect on that, then normally, naturally, you would like to take that. Why not bring out the best of the best you have in your heart into life? Why to put that, cover with some blanket and leave your precious mind somewhere, and why to, entertain your afflictions and leave the most precious of the precious that can lead you to happiness and freedom and lead other beings to happiness and freedom. Why not use it? Why to leave it just like in a dust? So therefore, it's always great to take that. And then traditionally, after taking a bodhisattva vow, bodhisattva vow is a little bit more challenging also at the same time because it's a question of mind versus monastic vows. Monastic vow is pretty much physical, speech and body, like celibacy vows, and then the speech vows of not saying harsh word, not slandering, gossiping, all those things, which you can pretty much easily see and control that. But when it comes to bodhicitta vow, then it's really the mind. For example, there's a story. I think it was Shariputra, uh, one of the great bodhisattvas, you know. And once you take a bodhisattva vow, it says, from now on, gods, demigods, humans, and all other being, from today on, I'm your host. So use me. I'm your host. You declare that, once you take the vow. And that's challenging, isn't it? If someone says, a little bit bad words to us, or just push us, we lose our temper, we lose our tolerance. And when you do that, you lose bodhicitta vow. So therefore, so what? Should we not take it? Definitely, that's not the right answer. We should take it, and we may make mistake, but we will learn on the path, and we will get stronger. For example, repairing the bodhisattva vow is done like on special days, particularly like a full moon day. You know, full moon day. There's a Hisuna Rinpoche has composed a Hinayana repairing vows, Mahayana Bodhisattva vows repairing, and Vajrayana vows repairing. And the three yanas vow repairing. It's not long, it's really concise, wonderful practice. So one can do those things. It's just like we make mistake, and then we recognize it, and then we move forward, like that. So there is a bodhisattva about repairing. So it's a crucial, actually. You have the most precious thing in your heart, and if you don't use it, that is the biggest stupidity in the world. There's a saying, it's like the beggar who have no food to eat, and the beggar, you know like sleeping on a ground, and below the ground there's a heap of gold. And if he or she, the beggar, knows there's a heap of gold, then it will remove all his problem. But all his problem will be removed by that. But but having bodhicitta mind and not utilizing that is even more stupid, and even more like a loss, even bigger loss than the beggar not finding that wealth. So that's how your entire happiness and freedom depends on your bodhicitta mind awakening or not. So therefore bodhicitta vow is very important, in fact, if one can take.
Go ahead, Tracy.
There might be.
A little bit of feedback. Do you just want to type out the question and I'll ask it to Rinpoche? 1 second, Rinpoche.
Okay.
There's feedback because there's two computers at the center, so the sound makes an echo. Okay, so this question is from Tim. Is Vipassana one practice or are there many? The goal is wisdom, but how does Vipassana accomplish wisdom?
As I said, in order to have Vipassana, first you need stability. It's like without the stability, the light is, for example, the candle which produces the light, that's like the Vipassana. The light is the Vipassana, basically. Extraordinary insight. Vipassana means extraordinary insight. Tibetan word is hlak tong. Hlak means extraordinary. Tong means seeing extraordinary. Not ordinary seeing, but extraordinary seeing. That's called Vipassana. But in order to see extraordinary, you need stable mind, right? You need stability. And without this stability, you cannot see with a clear view. So for that, you need the shamatha, stillness, stability. Shamatha makes your mind stable and stillness. Once your mind is stable in stillness, then the light will shine through without any obstacle. That is Vipassana. Now, Vipassana, there is, you can say, two levels, generally two levels, how the Vipassana is brought. One is through analytical meditation, and one is without analytical meditation. In other words, conventional wisdom and unconventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom means, I'm just summing it up, is the English word summing or sums? I'm sorry. It sums it up. Conventional wisdom means falls within the dualistic realm, and unconventional wisdom falls within the non-dual wisdom, which is the highest level of wisdom introduced in Mahamudra and Dzogchen teaching. That is the unconventional level of extraordinary insight, what is known as the wisdom Tathagata Garbha in Heart Sutra, Tathagata Garbha. Then in Dzogchen teaching, they're called Rigpa, or awareness, and then Mahamudra too. So this is how Vipassana has conventional Vipassana. We come to establish that wisdom through analytical meditation, however, still conventional. So what does that mean? It's not the absolute absolute. It shows absolute, but it's still not the absolute absolute because it still falls within the realm of duality, while the unconventional Vipassana is the non-dual, the naked awareness. In Dzogchen teaching is called naked awareness. Yeah, like that.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Janet, do you want to ask your question?
You've given us some books to read, and I'm wondering if there's anything you suggest for people who are involved in trying to put together action, whether it's in a family or in a whatever, especially now with the environment, putting together cooperative action. If there's any text or anything that, of course, they all relate, I'm sure, but there's that famous line from Shantideva that's like a log, I should remain, and I get that, but I'm wondering if, I'm thinking like there was a teaching about how anger can transform into compassion. And so there's some teachings that I feel like I want to get more connected with that have to do with transforming so that.
Okay, I
Yeah,
understand your question.
okay.
Last year, I asked after the Bodhichara Avatara teaching Chris Monson is given, I asked her to teach on the actions of the Bodhisattva, Gyaltse Laglen, Tibetan Buddhist. She taught on that, and all your question will be answered in that text. Basically, Bodhichara Avatara teaching and the actions of the Bodhisattva, that actions, so it speak about everything you're asking is in those uh, teaching, and so you may have access to those teaching or those texts. If you study on their text, Gyaltse Laglen, it is all there. Yeah.
Is there anyone listening that can uh, direct me to how to get access to those?
Yeah,
Uh, uh,
Tracy just put the link to the teaching in the chat.
Thank you.
And
Thank
yeah,
you so much.
you're welcome.
okay.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah, please study the Bodhichara Avatara teaching in Gyaltse Laglen, the actions of the Bodhisattva. It's really great. It involves every day how we deal with things and with ourselves and with the phenomenal world. So nothing is left in those. Everything is there in those two books, the Bodhichara Avatara teaching and the Gyaltse Laglen practice. Yeah. It will be very helpful. You will see it will be very helpful. And also, Words of My Perfect Teacher is a great book to study and read every year. Reminds you, because it speaks about from what is the real meaning of refuge to Bodhichitta, and then entering Vajrayana practice. So it is very deep. So those are the things that you want to do once a year. You can read, and then it can be very helpful. Any other question on meditation?
I think that's it, Rinpoche.
Okay, so then I explain the shamatha, I explain the vipassana, explains the conventional vipassana. One comes to term of conclusion through the analytical meditation. And when we talk about analytical meditation, objective analytical meditation conclusion and subjective analytical meditation conclusion, and that's what sums it up in general. Then in general about the unconventional Vipassana, that is non-dual. That's the direct pit instruction directly given from teacher to the student, Dzogchen teaching. So that's how Mahamudra of the Dzogchen teaching. That's the unconventional teaching, showing the rawness of their mind.
I think Rinpoche's computer froze. So let's do the dedication prayer. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities, merit, and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities, merit, and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities, merit, and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience, and thus defeat the neurosis and negative actions which are the enemies. From the turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may all beings be liberated. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful night and a wonderful weekend. And I will extend everyone's thanks to Rinpoche for teaching, and please make prayers that he continues to teach over and over and over again. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.